Welcome. Sammy here with Sammy's Tarot Astrology reading, and I'm so excited to be here on this live today. It's noon on Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. Now, I want to share with you that this is going to be a very interesting live, I think, because I'm going to be talking about something. Welcome! Someone very special just joined on. So today is going to be a very exciting live because I'm going to share some information that I've been learning about different forms of astrology. And if you've been interested in astrology and done research, I love you, then you might have come across the fact that there's different forms of astrology. Tropical astrology, which is the form that's most common, especially in the US and surrounding areas, and it's the usual calendar of zodiac signs. But you might have also heard that there's something called sidereal astrology, which is not the same as, but is overlapping in certain ways with Vedic astrology, and that those have different calendars and that people are even different signs. And that's something I've heard spoken about over time, but we're going to get more into that after we do our meditation, our brief meditation together. So I just wanted you to know that that is what's coming up today, and I'm really excited to share with you some of what I learned because I feel a lot better about things now. And you'll hear why soon. So let's start with a few deep breaths together, and then we'll chant Om, and that is the sound of primordial existence. It is the tune of the wavelength of the most basic element of life. And so when we chant it, we remember who we really are and what is most important, and the fact that we are timeless, eternal energy, and that we're beautiful and harmonious energy, and that we're all connected. So, and then everything else other than that is just fleeting. Okay, let's take a few deep breaths together. So nice. Thank you for being here for that. Well, and of course after we talk about astrology and what's happening now and these ideas, we will have a tarot card reading with our beautiful new deck, the Modern Witch Tarot deck. Okay, so sidereal astrology, Western/tropical astrology, then there's Vedic astrology, then there's draconian astrology. But I think the main this or that is put forth is between sidereal and tropical. And tropical is what we know as, that a Gemini is from May 23rd until June 20th, for example. I think those are the days. And sidereal would tell us that a Gemini is actually from June 20th until mid-July, when we know in tropical astrology that is Cancer season. And I'd heard little things about this here and there over the years, but usually I just kind of brushed it off because I wasn't really, I think I was still just not really sure how to research it. It just seemed complicated and confusing, and I didn't really know where to begin. It just kind of confused my brain because I couldn't figure out physically, like in relation to the stars and the earth, what each of them was really even arguing about. It was too abstract and complex for my brain to make any sense of. So I just sort of went with the flow of what I had grown up with, because first of all, it really resonated with me always. My birth chart really resonates with me. Being a Gemini is something that really resonates with me. A Libra rising. Everything in my chart has always felt like it really makes a lot of sense. And when I've done other people's charts, it's always felt that way too. So I just went with that. And then, but then something happened, which is that a couple of weeks ago, I was with my incredibly beautiful, amazing wife, the love of my life, and it's our 8-day anniversary, by the way. But we were we went to a planetarium, and we watched an amazing show where, shout out to Jordan at the planetarium in St. Louis. If you're in St. Louis, check out the planetarium at the Science Center, and the person who gives the show often is named Jordan and is very, very informed and knowledgeable about the sky and the stars and what's going on. So during that presentation, everything became clear to me what the difference between those two forms of astrology are, because he showed us what was happening in the sky that day, and I noticed that there was a constellation in the sky of, we were in Scorpio season, but the constellation wasn't Scorpius. And so, welcome, so glad you're here, Guru Dave. I'm just talking a bit about, to let you know about the difference between tropical and sidereal astrology and some things I've recently learned. And so, when I was at the planetarium and I saw first of all, I learned something very interesting, which was that even though all 360 degrees of the sky in every direction there's constellations, the zodiac signs, the 12 or maybe 13, depending on which school of thought you're in, they occupy one ribbon, one circle around, as viewed from the earth, around the earth. And that is the path that the moon takes. So our zodiac signs and the progression of those signs from Aries to Pisces are the constellations that fall on the path of the moon. So that is something I learned, and I thought that was very touching because I think it's beautiful. We have one moon, and that always blows my mind and makes me feel so grateful, because there's planets with many moons and then there's planets with no moons, and we here on Earth get to have the lives we have because things just worked out that way, that there happened to be one moon that gives us the tides, and the ocean is the source of life. And if we didn't have one moon, if we had 2 moons or no moons or anything like that, we wouldn't be here talking today. So that's a miracle. And so I like the fact that the zodiac is based on the path of the moon. And with sidereal astrology, they look at any given point, what is the zodiac sign that the sun, the season that the sign is in. So each sign, first of all, they're not all the same size. And in tropical or Western astrology, we give every sign 1 month, and we give every sign 30 degrees. So if the clock face of the zodiac wheel is 360 degrees, a full circle, we just divide it into 12 pieces. But with sidereal astrology, they don't divide it into 12 even pieces. They divide it into the approximate sizes of the actual constellations of the stars as seen from the Earth. So that means some of them are, like Cancer is a teeny tiny constellation, and Scorpius, which we call Scorpio, is like way bigger. So that would mean a lot longer season for Scorpio and a lot shorter season for Cancer. And also, they're different times of year than the tropical calendar. So when I saw this at the planetarium, at first I was kind of bothered because I didn't like the fact that I was like, oh, was I not born under the constellation of Gemini? What does that mean? Is everything a lie? Do I have to forget everything I thought I knew about astrology? And I thought about it and I did a little research, but I was still kind of confused. But today, I spent quite a bit of time reading a bunch more about it, and I learned something very interesting, which was that tropical astrology, the mainstream one that we have been talking about and that most people use here, is based on physical realities. It's based on the fact that the seasons on Earth are consistent in their qualities in many ways. We base it on the equinoxes and the solstices. So, the longest day of the year is always in the same season, and the shortest day of the year is always in the same season. If you are a human being born on Earth in the northern hemisphere and you're born in May, it's going to be springtime. It's going to be getting warmer. If you're born in December, it's going to be really cold. It's going to be the shortest day of the year. And that is what makes tropical astrology, gives it a lot of accuracy, because the archetypes that go with each season are connected to certain zodiac signs, and so those zodiac signs, even if the constellation is not directly what the sun is progressing through, it is still the archetypical constellation that when human beings first started developing this science, that's where it was. So, for example, Aries at the year 0 was what the sun was passing through in April. And even if now it's passing through in March, it still doesn't change the fact that if you were born in April, that there's certain qualities to the season and to nature and to life on Earth at that time. And those are qualities that are connected with the archetype of the ram, of the beginning of spring, of the frost melting and life kicking off with a boldness and with a lot of action and heat. And so even if the constellation of the ram is not directly next where the sun is, those qualities still make somebody born in that month a certain way. Also, I learned that with the sidereal astrology, that's supposed to be based on the actual positions of those constellations, is that it's not there's no perfect way to really measure that, and there's still some flux. So if you follow sidereal, there's still a lot of wiggle room as to what sign you might be. And 2 more facts about this, and then we will move on for today in case you're getting bored or anything. But the difference between sidereal and tropical, they used to be aligned, but then because of slight wobbles in the rotation and the axes of the planets, they've gotten further apart. But over time, it's going to come back around again. So that's one thing, that will constantly be changing, whereas the cycle of nature and of the seasons on Earth, to us Earthlings, that won't be constantly changing. So to ascribe the qualities of, a Leo, somebody who's born in the heat of summer, if that constellation were above the earth in January or February, when you have, let's say, somebody born in that season, they would probably have more of the qualities that we associate with Capricorn or Aquarius, that sort of steady, concentrated diligence that is more in line with that wintry time. So the last point is that I learned that the sun has 2 north poles and 2 south poles. The sun doesn't rotate along, like if you pictured a stick and then a ball on it and you spin it, it doesn't rotate like that. It's constantly wobbling a little bit. And that causes things like solar flares. And I'm going to learn more about that and get back to you. But it wobbles in a predictable way. And the fluxes and radiation based on those wobbles of the sun are perfectly lined up with tropical astrology, with Western astrology. So since the sun is the star that is closest to us, it makes sense that even if the more distant constellations aren't as accurately lined up, that the star that gives us our warmth and that we are close to, if we are in sync with that star, that's going to provide a lot of accurate information. So finally, to wrap up about tropical versus sidereal, there is a lot of information that can be gained from all the different kinds of astrology. I feel very comfortable now, whereas for the last couple of weeks I was sort of mulling it over and feeling like not sure about what to focus on. But now I feel really good about the accuracy and the physical reality of tropical astrology and of that calendar, and also very interested in continuing to study sidereal astrology and to find where they come together and the ways that they can help us understand each other more deeply and understand ourselves more deeply. They're just different lenses and different perspectives, but they both offer us a lot of information. One is a little more based on Earth and our experience on Earth, and one is a little more based on how we fit into the larger cosmos. But just like any spiritual practice where there is duality, there is illusion, and the solution is finding where they meet up and where everything is integrated. Instead of it being either or, it's and. Just like if you've ever done improv, the rule is always yes and to every idea, because, and then also, last fact, I promise. See, I'm a Gemini. The Beatles, I learned that, they were one of the most prolific writers, groups that stayed together, the 4 of them, for so many years, and so many bands break up and come and go. And that I remember learning that one of their rules as a group together was that if somebody has an idea, nobody would shoot it down. But if they didn't love the idea, then they had to come up with another idea that they thought was better, and then they could present it as an alternative to the first idea. So it's like in improv, yes, and if somebody says something, yes, and then this, because then you're building and adding, and the energy is just rising and becoming higher. And then with the Beatles, it's like, okay, if someone has an idea, great idea. The only way you would not use it is if somebody presents another idea that everyone likes better. So it's this idea of inclusion and integration and harmony of all the parts coming together, just like all of our parts come together, our light and bright parts and our shadowy, murky parts, and our happy parts and our sad parts and our helpful parts and our challenging parts all come together, just like the different forms of astrology. So I hope that was helpful or useful to anyone, and if you have questions about it, please feel free to send them to me. So yeah, I'm excited that we got that out. Now, in terms of what's happening in the stars and the sky today and the planets, right at this moment we have Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, and the Moon all bunched together, the four of them in Capricorn. It's very intense Capricorn energy. And then at the same time, we still have our trine between Neptune and Mercury. So there is a lot of energy, Capricorn energy, for diligence, for persistence, for creativity, for being methodical, thinking things through, taking careful steps. And then there's also great energy for us for daydreaming and hoping and sharing from that place of dreaminess and mysticism. And as we go into the weekend, the moon will be going into Aquarius later tonight, and the moon will be in Aquarius Friday, Saturday, and into the beginning of Sunday. I think it is, and I gotta check when exactly it moves from out of Aquarius. But the moon's gonna be in Aquarius, and what's interesting is that also we have a sextile happening between the moon and Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn, and the sun in Scorpio, which is about to go into Sagittarius. But a sextile is a 60 degree apart configuration. So you have the sun here, and then 60 degrees away, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, and the moon. And that's a very harmonizing position. We've had two squares, so Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto in Capricorn. They've been at two 90-degree angles. To one direction, Mars in Aries, to the other, Libra, Venus in Libra, making two square angles, 90-degree angles, which can cause a little bit of tension. But what's beautiful now is that the sun, which has more pull and effect for us than Mars or Venus, the sun is making a really harmonizing aspect with those four planets this weekend. So that means we can tap into a lot of ease where there's been tension. And it's subtle. It's a sextile. It's not a trine. It's like half a trine. But because it's the sun making the sextile, that's kind of like a royal flush. And it kind of takes the emphasis because it's the sun. So just want you to know that there's probably going to be a bit of ease and relief in the next couple of days from anything that's felt difficult, and you'll be able to enjoy that. And then the Aquarius moon brings us a bit of spaciousness from any kind of intensity, any kind of emotion. It doesn't mean being emotionless, but it does mean that there is like this breath, a little bit of an ability to notice our feelings and not be engulfed in them. And then also the Aquarius moon brings a quality of hopefulness and idealism, especially around humanity at large. So along with that lovely sextile between the sun and that cluster of planets in Capricorn, we're going to have now our Aquarius moon time, giving us an ability to see all that's possible in the best possible ways, and to feel genuine hope in our hearts about what we can create and how we can feel, and how humanity as a whole can reach a better place. So with that, let's pull a few cards. Take a few breaths and shuffle. first card, the King of Cups. Look at this beautiful King Witch we have here. I love this deck so much. So here we have a person, a lady, maybe a lady, seated on a throne in the middle of the ocean. They look very calm. They're holding a goblet, and she is looking straight forward while the waves dance around her and a fish happily jumps out of the water. So it's a card of being able to be calm and centered and steady in the midst of great emotion, and to be somebody who's very compassionate and understands what it's like to be surrounded by a lot of emotion and intensity, but maintain that calmness. And also, water is the element of love, and so it's a card of being able to handle lots of love, being able to feel a lot of love and share a lot of love and experience a great deal of love and remain balanced and graceful and clear-seeing. Somebody who, it could be about you, it could be somebody in your life right now who's offering this to you, or an ideal that you are embodying, but being able to be strong and be compassionate and be loving. Here you have it. And we talked about, the sun is still in Scorpio and Neptune in Pisces, and I think that this is a card that really exemplifies that. Our last couple of days of Scorpio, we get to really bask in all that we've learned this past month, this Scorpio season. Anything we've been through, any ways we've evolved, any emotions we've had, we now have all of that within us that we can learn from and carry forth as wisdom and wealth and the ability to help others as well. So the King of Cups is our first card. Our second card, the Three of Wands. Here we have a lovely witch standing right before the sea. There's sailboats, and they are looking out over the water, and they've got these three wands which represent action and passion and fire and motion. Now we are about to go from Scorpio season, King of Cups, into Sagittarius season, Three of Wands, fire, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the third fire sign. First is Aries, then Leo, then Sagittarius. It is the third and final fire sign, and we are about to go into Sagittarius season. Hi, welcome! We're doing our tarot card reading now and talking about how in a couple of days we're entering Sagittarius season. So we're basically looking ahead and looking forward to a future that involves travel, exploration, and especially if you're somebody who's been hoping to travel long distances, maybe over water or through water, it's a sign that all of that is developing. And just to continue looking forward and taking those actions and get ready for expansion and excitement and exploration. Our third card for today, the Two of Pentacles. And here we have a beautiful witch who is juggling two golden coins, the pentacles, which represent earthly abundance. And as we know, we have a lot of planetary activity in Capricorn right now. So I think that represents this partially. But at the same time, since we are transitioning from one season to another, from this earth energy into this fire energy, from the water energy into the fire energy, this earth energy is reminding us to keep everything in balance and to stay grounded. It's just like what we were talking about before, how it's not either or. If you're feeling conflicted between two choices or two ways of doing things, this is about just keep everything juggling, keep things in the air, keep moving and dancing and swaying. It's the loop of infinity here. I think the Two of Pentacles is a reminder that to remember that we're part of this infinite flow of life, and also to physically, if you are able to physically dance, then that's a message of this card. I always think when I see this card, it's like move your body however you can in a way that feels good, and just by doing that, it makes abundance more accessible by moving and flowing physically. So here we have it. We've got a very strong water card, a very strong fire card, and a very strong earth card. And I think that represents a lot of the major activities happening in our planets right now. And so reflecting over what you've learned the past month, the emotions you've had, looking forward to what you're excited about and passionate about, especially in terms of traveling and exploring in the next month. And at any given moment, if you would like to feel more grounded or have more abundance, to find ways of dancing and moving. So thank you for being here. I am going to be traveling the next 2 days, but hopefully we'll still hop on here, even if I'm doing it from an airport or something like that. But I hope you have a beautiful weekend, enjoying the moon in Aquarius and the sun sextile with 4 planets. It's going to be a lovely weekend, and I really appreciate your being here and co-creating this beautiful moment together. I really, really appreciate it. Sending you lots of love, and have a beautiful day.